It's Grid on Xbox One X. So this is the main menu here. We get a couple different options. There's career, multiplayer, and free play. When I play these type of racing games, I usually spend time in free play, but we'll show off a little bit of the career. So you're basically playing rounds of races, and you're collecting trophies and finishing goals that you see on the bottom there, and you're unlocking new events. It's not really anything too in-depth, but it's kind of like some sort of goal to work towards if that's your sort of thing in racing titles. Then there's multiplayer, where you just do a quick match or a private match, so you've got those options. Free plays, where you can kind of take a look at things. You get different event types. There's quite a number of selections. Different race options, touring cars, all the different car types that you can want to race with. So we'll do GT, I think it's GT1, GT2, and then you can see like the grid size and the number of rounds present, and Masters run, different sort of options, and then you can continue. And the reason we're doing this is so we can show off all the different track options. So these are like all the different tracks that are present, and then within the tracks you get a couple different options, which is nice. So there's actually a fair bit of content within this one. So we'll do, I don't know if we want to do Havana, we'll do San Francisco, and that one looks kind of cool. We'll do one lap, and we'll make it day. So there are different options too. You can do night, and you can do rain, which is kind of nice, and an overcast. So here's the start of the race. We picked a different track because I was having some recording issues with San Francisco one, so hopefully this goes well. This is on Xbox One X, so we're going to push towards a 4K resolution with HDR Sport, and I think it actually does look really good visually. There's also some nice little details in regards to damaging on the vehicles, and a really cool system that kind of makes this stand aside from other titles. It is somewhat focused on more of arcade action, but it does do that circuit-based racing. It's not open world, so it is comparable to Forza Motorsport as compared to Horizon. So yeah, that's kind of what you're getting here, a good selection of tracks. So as I was saying, the Nemesis system is really interesting because it basically comes into effect. Wow, that was terrible. There is rewind, so you can do that as well, and I think that's kind of an essential part of racing titles these days. You can turn the track guideline off, which I probably should have because someone's going to complain about it. But like I was saying, the Nemesis system is really interesting because if you get to, be hitting or banging against other vehicles, you actually will get somebody that doesn't like you, and they become your nemesis, and then they'll actually act hostile towards you. They'll try to knock you off the road, and it's kind of a cool little system to play at within this title, and that definitely does help it stand out a little bit in comparison to the other racing games that are available on the market, because there are quite a number, especially this late in the generation, but this one definitely stands out as being something that is polished. It's got quite a fair bit of content to it, a lot of different options in terms of the weather environment, so you're going to see all the different kind of settings as we go through this video here. We kind of had to do a live / post for basically going over the actual video just due to some recording issues on the console. So moving past that, there are a large number of campaign levels that you can work through. Then you've got the quick play, and then you've got the multiplayer. So it has basically all of the essential options that you would expect in a title like this in this day and age. It would have been nice if they would have played around with it a bit more, maybe did some funkier type modes, just something a little bit different. That aside, this is a very competent, well done racing title. You just get quite a lot of content. It's well rounded. It handles very well. There's a lot of vehicle types in this. You can customize the vehicles, purchase new ones as you progress. Just a quick play in the campaign because you've got an overall level system you're working through. I think it all looks really good, whether or not you're storming through the rain, you're driving at night, you're enjoying the sunset. It's not dynamic weather, but it does look really, really good. And I say dynamic as in as it shifts over the game. That's like a Forza type thing. So going past that, there are a good selection of tracks and locations. There could have maybe been a bit more, but I feel it's a good selection in this one. I really do like the style of the cars. There's lots of different types of vehicles present. You get super fast ones, super muscly ones, you get more old school type things. And they're all filtered down to their own class types. So it is more of a set type experience when it comes to actually, picking your vehicles and going through it, which is fine. It's curated in that regard. The levels have a good sense of detail to them. There's lots of fans moving around. The backgrounds are greatly detailed. I didn't really notice any rendering or performance issues. These are all the different car types that you can sort of tweak and change your cars up if you want different colors or liveries, so that's kind of neat. Going back to the tracks, they're very well detailed. They look good. The roads are nice. I love the lighting style. I don't know if it quite shows through on this one, but with the HDR and everything, it really does look quite lovely. I think it's visually impressive. It captures the details of the roads. There is a penalty system in the game if you do go outside the track lines. I know people do care about that quite a bit. I don't know if you've been noticing, but there is a commentary guy that does discuss things while you are playing. Normally I would turn that kind of thing off, but it was very minimal and in and out. And I think that kind of worked really well for this one. It's just a nice comic voice being like, hey, you're doing well in the race, or oh, we need to pick this up a bit more. And it was just periodically that you would hear him pop up, which is kind of cool. So you're seeing a couple of the different racing options that are present just track-wise. I tried to do one lap just so I could show off as many different race types as I could with this. So you do get a good variety of it. There's multiple perspectives that you can switch between. A lot of, I guess you could say, brands and stuff within this grid series, and it does sort of move towards, it's a serious racing title, but it does have that sort of arcade presence to it too, like I was mentioning earlier, because there are the collisions, you can see the damage, you can feel the vehicles breaking apart, and it does quite handle well. You really feel it on the track as you're moving around. And then the nemesis system layered on that, where they're like bumping into you and you're just trying to keep your grip going. I think that's really cool and well done. It's actually a really good sort of start or restart for this particular racing franchise. I'm very eager to see where they maybe take things, post-launch or even in the future, because this is a very interesting title. So with the multiplayer, you can have up to 16 players, just kind of like the regular AI battling. So you can do that online, which is really nice. Or you can just kind of play it by yourself, which is fine. I definitely enjoyed it. I think it's a sort of authentic racing title that works very well and does what it aims to do perfectly fine. I also really like the finesse at the ending of the races, as you were seeing there. Just like they put lots of little particle things. There's like confetti, there's balloons, there's like popping smoke, and that's a really fun little finessey thing. And they do capture the little things in the environment too, so you can see like waves flag or the people cheer, and it just makes the tracks feel a little bit more alive when you are going along them. I mean, it's not quite up to what I would say Forza Motorsport, but this is really good and a standout from the many racing titles that I have played over the generation. There are so many I've played on Xbox One, so it is always great to have another one where it's kind of like, oh, this is actually really well done. I think this is a very good option. I certainly enjoyed playing it. I had a lot of fun driving around. I did some of the campaign, even though I don't typically care too much for those. And it is a nice, sense of progression when you work through it. It does give you something to work towards, which is good, because a lot of people do need that sort of drive, whereas I just kind of like racing on the tracks. And I don't really care too much. And you go in here and you buy your different vehicles, you pick your liveries, so you do feel like you actually are working towards hitting certain goals aside from just racing on this assortment of tracks with these selection of vehicles. But I think they do cover all the basics, what you need in a modern racing title, and they go a little bit beyond that too, doing something that's a little bit different with their formula, and I think that kind of helps it stand out a little bit, because it is a very sort of saturated racing market this day and age. So you get pretty good looking vehicles, sense of destruction and collision, the nemesis system like we've gone over extensively. Then you get day, night, and rain, and afternoon. So it covers all the basics basically for sort of standard weathering. It could take it further, but that's generally fine in this one. Visually, I think it's impressive. It looks really good. It seems to run quite well in my opinion. And you just get quite a lot of content to it. I wish they would have went a little further with the modes that I've mentioned, but there's a good amount of gameplay and content within this one that does add value to it. I think it looks pretty good. The rain stuff is nice. And then, as you saw a little bit earlier, different perspectives for racing too. If you want to drive inside the car, you can do that, which is nice. And I think that covers about everything. There's tuning. You can do like the check hot laps and Just quite a lot to it. Very well rounded, runs well, looks good, plays well. Solid racing title if you've been looking into it. I would say, yeah, this is a really good option. And just know that it is, you know, track-based. That is the style of it. You can do laps, or you can just do like sort of, I guess it's a hot lap, or just a straightaway race on some of the circuit setups, just so you know. But generally, yeah, that is Grid. It's looking really good on Xbox One X.